I'm going to go ahead and yield all of my time speaking about this bill to an inspiration that I am very proud to know, Chloe Cole. Come on up.
Chloe, welcome to Senate Health.
My name is Chloe Cole, and I'm a 19-year-old detransitioned woman and a former transgender kid. It is such an honor to be here. For nearly the past 3 years, I've been engaging with individuals and institutions across our country with a very simple goal in mind: to save even one life from what I experience. I went through medical transition and ended up detransitioning between the ages of 12 to 16. I started calling myself a boy at 12. When I turned 13, I was put on puberty-suppressing medication and testosterone before finally undergoing a double mastectomy at 15 to remove my breasts. I permanently stopped my transition at 16 when I realized that I wanted to become a mother, and in the end, I was just a tomboyish, troubled girl who struggled to fit in and find an identity. The recovery from my transition has been incredibly difficult. I am now an adult woman without breasts, with a damaged sexuality, and with complications that persist years after stopping treatment. I was in a critical, vulnerable position during that point in my life when I stopped. But when I went back to the same doctors who initially helped me through transitioning, many of them either turned a blind eye or they felt helpless in treating me. But in this historic moment, I look around and I see both power and compassion meeting together, unifying to help me, to help those whose stories we are learning of, and the many more that we will never know. But our healthcare systems will know them, because in the power of these reforms, an entire patient population, today, right now, falling through the cracks of American healthcare, may be saved. This moment feels personal. Like the many suffering American young people and families who thank me for doing what feels like my civic responsibility. Please allow me to thank you, senators, for doing what you feel is your own. The timing could not be more critical. An exponential growth amongst those entering the transition pipeline will inevitably be reflected in those who desist and detransition. All we should expect will require lifelong medicalization. Every day across our states, we become more than statistics and figures. I know this because they reach out to the few who share our story in public. I know this because they are my friends. They are my community. Thousands of young men and women and boys and girls who need a platform for their voices and their experiences. Included in that community are those who first championed these reforms. The many parents and family members who have also been victims and who often may endure lifelong suffering. Together, detransitioners, our families, and civic leaders are leading not only in solutions, but in healing. We and the rest of American life are in great need. Thank you.
Thank you. Members have any questions? Thank you for being here, Chloe. It's the second week in a row. Awesome.
Thank you very much for being here.
All right. Who do we have next?
Aaron Friday.
Welcome to Senate Health.
Great job.
Thank you so much. My name is Erin Friday. I'm a licensed attorney. I'm also a mother of a daughter who used to believe that she was a boy. I run a parent group called Our Duty, where there's over 3,000 parents like me who refuse to transition our children. My daughter, at the age of 13, in the height of COVID, lockdown, and puberty, decided that she was a boy. So did 50% of her Girl Scout troop. She believed that she was born in the wrong body. She sunk into a deep depression and told me that she would die young because trans people kill themselves. Every doctor, therapist, and psychiatrist that I consulted with told me to celebrate my new son and forget my daughter. When I told them that my daughter was extremely girly as a child, that she refused to wear anything but a dress, and the sparklier the better, I was told that gender identity is fluid, and that now she is a boy. Transitioner, I was instructed. I refused. Instead, I poured over the actual science and showered her with love, telling her repeatedly that she is perfect. Her body is perfect. She didn't need drugs and surgeries to be loved or authentic. We addressed her underlying mental health issues and pulled her from her public school, and she is now 17 and celebrates her female body,
30 seconds.
sometimes a little too much. Had I listened to one therapist or doctor, she would be a detransitioner, another casualty in the gender ideology movement. Gender ideologues like to talk about gender fluidity, that a child or an adult can change from identifying as something different than their sex or their birth at sex to another gender. If that is true, if gender is fluid, then insurance companies must cover treatments for those who re-identify with their natal sex. Transitioning is easy. We all know that there are no guardrails for a patient. All that she needs to do is to state that she's transgender and tell the doctor what she wants to do with her body, whether she wants testosterone, her breasts removed, her ovaries removed, or something else. The doctors just merely affirm, and the insurance companies pay. And when she changes her mind, she is abandoned. When we talk about marginalized individuals, no one is more marginalized than a detransitioner who is a perpetual medical patient. Insurance carriers should not be able to facilitate gender intervention and then walk away when the detransitioners need them. I want to quickly tell you a story about Abel. Abel was a man, is a man. Abel thought he was a woman. After one phone call, Abel got approved for breasts. Abel got his breasts, no problem. Abel then addressed his mental health issues and wanted to get rid of those breasts. It took him over 2 years to get the insurance carrier to cover that. It took him one phone call to add those breasts to his body, and 2 years to remove them. This should not be happening. Richard is a black man who lives in San Francisco. Richard is straight. He was sexually assaulted his entire childhood. Richard's mental health background was well known by the doctors, but they still removed his penis and inverted it into a neo-vagina. That wound never heals. He is racked with infections that no doctor knows how to treat. He is sent from ER to urgent care, back to the gender clinic, and no one knows how to help him. He is 29 years old and he no longer wants to live because he knows what his future looks like. So I implore you to pass this bill. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Members have any questions? Thank you for being here. Who do we have next?
Gary Ingram.
Hello, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Gary Ingram, and I live with my wife and family here in Glendale, Arizona. I'm here to speak in favor of SB 1511. Today, I'm a husband, father, and an ordained pastor who struggled for most of my childhood and early adulthood with my own perception of identity. I once thought I found what I was really looking for in the LGBTQ plus community. Same-sex attraction was a constant feeling and fascination from my early childhood, but I also experienced desire to be female. I felt like everything about me would have made more sense had I been a girl. For Halloween events 2 years in a row, I dressed up as a witch in a black dress that I originally found in my mother's closet. I would go back to that dress over and over again when I was alone and certain that no one would see me. Putting it on helped me feel more connected to my fantasy of being a girl and being desired by a guy. While my sense of identity in being a young gay man solidified and increased over time, my fantasies and desire to be a woman faded and desisted on its own, corresponding to what studies indicate that as high as 90% of kids who experience gender dysphoria will naturally align with their biology by the time they reach adulthood, if they are left alone and not encouraged or pushed toward transition. If I were a child in today's world, I have zero doubt that transgenderism and embracing some form of transition would have felt like a solution for me until the catastrophic damage was done. When I realized that homosexuality didn't have to define me or be my identity, I was able to find loving and competent help to support me as my life changed dramatically over time. As hard as that process was for me, it was nothing by comparison to what a young man or a young woman like Chloe Cole has to deal with when realizing the horrible mistake they were led into by trusted medical and mental health providers. For those who believed their providers, who became caught up in all the celebration of embracing transgenderism
26.
and began social, chemical, and surgical interventions before they realized their error, where do they go? Where do they go for understanding and help to recover? No one is abandoned faster than detransitioners who realize that they made a horrible mistake in attempting to become the other sex. Detransitioners like Chloe Cole, as well as friends that I have, Ted Haley, Bill Burley, Kathy Grace Duncan, Laura Perry, and countless others deserve genuine support and care. Detransitioners have been forever marred and, in the words of journalist and author Abigail Schreier, irreversibly damaged. I know many men and women who were not supported in their detransition. They were rather even mocked and ridiculed. Passing SB 1511 is the least that can be done to help them recover as much of their true self as possible. Thank you so much for listening to me today.
Thank you. Any questions, members? Awesome.
Thank you, Gary.
We're good.
Ruth Carter.
And that number 4.
Marianne Graffagnino.
That's becoming the new Leonard. What was his name? Leonard Clark, that would sign in.
Marianne
and never
Graffagnino
be
is in
around.
every committee, I think.
Yeah.
That's it?
And she never shows.
All right.
That.
Madam Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I move that Senate Bill 1511 with a due pass recommendation.
All right, members, you've heard that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none. As soon as the secretary is done being bothered over here, we'll have him call the roll.
Poor Amanda.
Senator Borelli?
Aye.
Senator Birch?
No.
Senator Gonzalez?
Mr. Chair,
Please.
this is a difficult one for me because there's lots of different issues that come to mind when I heard testimony. I thank you for the testimony. But there's also other issues that I've heard that have come before us on the other side, and I'm still researching what I'm going to do on the floor, but for right now, I'm a no.
Senator Hattori?
Senator.
I vote in favor. Thank you.
Senator Watsack?
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
growing up in the 70s, I was the only girl on the soccer team. I wore tough skin jeans. I was the tomboy. I had 10 friends. They were all boys. I didn't get along with the girls in the neighborhood. Had I grown up today the way I did in the 70s, catching fireflies in jars and, pulling the tails off lizards and watching the lizard's tail float around in the sink, I was a boy when I was growing up. And I never, ever would have imagined that this would have happened to me. Had this happened, if I had been a tomboy in this day and age, they would have changed my gender. Just the way it is. Protect the tomboys. Protect the tomboys. I vote aye.
Senator Shamp?
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Chloe has inspired me to run this legislation. And, as the community of transgender is increasing, I think it's highly important that we make sure that detransitioners don't get left behind. if this is going to be how we're going to move forward, I believe that it is remiss of our healthcare institutions to not pay attention to what's happening and to not make sure that these tragic stories can actually have as good of an outcome as possible. My heart breaks for anyone feeling stuck in any situation. And so I wholeheartedly am proud to bring 1511 to the Senate. And with that, I vote aye.
Senator Shamp.
Aye.
5 ayes, 2 nays, 0 not voting.
Members, I vote 5 ayes, 2 nays, 0 not voting. You've given Senate Bill 1511 a due pass recommendation.